What a beautiful, beautiful day it is. Well, it is here in the UK. It is here at Cranfield, Grenville Turner Studios. Welcome back. We have an absolute corking event for you today, hosted by Adam, but he wants me to be here in the studio apparently to snipe and pick holes in the argument, which I don't think I'm going to be able to, because I violently agree with everything we're going to be talking about. So without further ado, Adam, welcome virtually into the studio. How are you doing?
In leafy Suffolk as well, and I thought we'd had the summer last week, and then it was raining again for a few days, but it looks like things are on the up again, and this should be really interesting as a conversation today, shouldn't it?
Well, tell us what we're talking about.
So today we're going to talk about building a diverse sales team. And I think what's really interesting, I had a lovely chat with our guest some years ago when I was first getting to know her. And we were talking about diversity and prejudice and stuff like that. And I said, well, what do I know about any of that? You know, I'm a white, middle-class, middle-aged male. So any failures that I'm subject to must be laid at my doorstep. And you know, these are all abstract concepts for me. Anyway, Chloe gave me a hug and said, "Don't be silly. You know, you're a great champion." And you know, Chloe is really the living embodiment of building a diverse team for outperformance within sales. Actually, let's not have me talking.
Could we hear from Chloe? Yeah.
So let me introduce Chloe Hoggard. She's a really good friend of mine. She's an RVP at Salesforce. She's a mum. She's a leader. She's an innovative thinker, and she has a work ethic that is, well, unusual, certainly to me. Phenomenally hard worker and committed, but also really incredible at thinking outside the box. So let's bring her on.
Good morning, Tim, morning Andy. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. Yeah, it's glorious here in North Yorkshire. The sun shines on the righteous, some might say, so I'm glad that you've also got the sunshine.
Well, you've already stunned everybody on Sales TV and around LinkedIn, Chloe, because you know you've been set up as one of Adam's few friends. So, you know, only friend. Yeah. And you hugged him once.
I have hugged him. I've probably hugged him more than once, but Adam has a very, actually, I guess, representative and diverse, eclectic group of friends, and I'm delighted to be amongst them.
So I saw you at the big event last week, and we were chatting about kind of what we're trying to achieve and also what you're trying to achieve in terms of the team that you're building. And it is phenomenal, isn't it? Because you have built a truly diverse team, you know, and so you've got a black gentleman, you've got two Asian gentlemen, one from India, one from the Far East, and now you've got a woman as well on the team. Yeah. And it, you know, I think it's I mean, why is that important? Let me not put words in your mouth. Why is it important that we have diversity in teams, and what is the business outcome from doing so?
Yeah, sure. My team is very diverse and very representative, and I think my personal focus has always been actually beyond the lens of gender. And I think for people who do follow me on LinkedIn, they'll know that I often do write and talk about neurodiversity. But I guess why is it important to have a diverse team? I mean, the increase in innovation and learning, I think, is exponential. So one of the most commonly cited benefits of diversity in the workplace is that it can increase opportunities for learning, I guess, while also enhancing everyone's capacity for innovation and creativity. Quite simply, people who come from diverse backgrounds and different backgrounds will have unique perspectives and ways of thinking, I guess, allowing them to unlock new ideas that a more homogenous team might simply not stumble upon. especially as diverse team members bounce their ideas off one another. My team are a particularly lively bunch, and I know certainly in team call and team chat on WhatsApp, they're always throwing in ideas, innovative responses, ways to engage with customers, ways to approach problems. But I guess exposure to new ideas and experiences can help broaden the whole team's capacity for creative thought, and sharing knowledge and experience can also improve skill sets across the whole organisation. I think as team members come together towards a common goal and North Star, and seek to truly lift and empower each other, everyone's capacity for meaningful contribution can improve further.
Yeah, I mean that's beautiful, well, poetic answer. I can't help thinking though that and you know, as I said to you some time ago, what do I know about diversity and prejudice and stuff like that? But one of the things that strikes me as really interesting in your team is that you've obviously invested a lot of time in getting the right fit of people, because there is no whiff of diversity for diversity's sake here. Now I'm working with multiple people here. They are all ultra high performers. So how do you balance that? Because you know there must be, you know, there's an advantage to having diverse people in a team. There's an advantage to having high performers in a team, and you know clearly you want both high performers and diversity, but there must be kind of like a seesaw going on here. So how have you built a team like this?
I think in terms of hiring and recruitment, I guess, as you said, as a middle class white bloke, if you were to look deep into your network, or if you were to advertise to hire, there is a probability that potentially more candidates would be surfaced up, perhaps more like yourself. I think if you're a female, if you're a black female, the reality is your network may contain more black and brown people, so your reach is broader. But I think it's hiring really to create culture, not hiring for cultural fit, which I think are two quite different things. I think, you know, diversity does make it easier to attract and retain top talent, because I think on entry in an organisation, if we think about generic process for hire and, you know, ultimately in a sales role, potentially a panel, when we step into the room and we don't see anybody that looks like us or represents us, it actually makes it harder to raise your game and do better in that scenario. So when we're able to present a more representative workforce, we will attract people from more diverse backgrounds.
Yeah, but I know that you work at an organization that is very diverse and embraces diversity, but equally you've worked at organizations where that's not actually the case so much. And so how does somebody that is within a conservative organization, maybe conservative isn't the right, I don't want to go as far as to say bigoted, but someone's within an organization that isn't seeking to be as diverse as the one that you're in, how can a leader within that kind of organization start to move the needle into the direction of having a more representative team for the people that they're actually selling to?
So I think for me, it's quite easy. When I look up my organisation, I have the most fabulous country leader and CEO in Zora Balrumi. So when I look up my organisation, I see a woman at the top of the game absolutely smashing it. So when I see her doing that, that makes me feel that it's possible for me to also make that climb. I think as leaders, we have to be accountable for the diversity and representation within our organisation. And I think when leaders make it matter, it matters more to others. Personally, it's more than a pet passion. I actually did step up and launch and lead a diversity network within my organisation, where we're constantly having conversations. Some of those are a little bit more uncomfortable, give people a bit of a squeaky bum, but you know, we've dipped into conversations around code switching. We've done neurodiversity. We will support our LGBTQ+I colleagues. Actually, We're speaking with the partner organisation on Friday this week, Accenture, and we're exploring the menopause and the impact of the ageing population of women within the workforce. So I think when it matters to your leadership, it starts to matter to you.
And so it's really interesting to hear you say that. I have a wife a similar age as me, so I understand a little bit about the menopause and the effect that has. But one of the things that I do sometimes see is, and not at Salesforce, but I do see at some organizations, is that there are some good intentions, the road to hell being paved with good intentions and all that, but actually often it's just paying lip service to these things. Well, we're going to have, and I think maybe the best example of this is there's that famous photograph of the Commission for Equality for Women in Saudi Arabia, which was a group of 20 blokes sitting around a table, and it's like, so how do we ensure that this is actually a positive move in all of these different areas, rather than just us a box ticking exercise? Because still, so many of the teams that I interact with are people that look just like me.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I've learned, I guess, around the importance of true belonging in helping white males in particular come to better understand how and why diversity matters, is that true belonging does occur when team members have, I guess, mutually deep connections with each other. They don't feel that need to code switch or conform to socially constructed expectation, which actually does negatively impact every demographic. Encouraging team members to reflect on the socialization and beliefs tied to their identity, allowing the interrogation, I guess, of belief structures based on experience of exclusion can help foster greater empathy. So the introduction of skip levels, with senior leadership, creating the opportunity to reverse mentor, whether that be based on faith, culture, identity. I think, truthfully, when we get to see and know each other as people, human first, it creates a golden opportunity really for us all. And I think ultimately sponsorship, not allyship, you've got to be an accomplice in making a difference, so don't outsource potentially the responsibility for improving workplace culture and its hiring practices, let's say, to the most senior female leader or black person you have in your business. Actually, if each and every leader takes accountability, it's everybody's challenge. It's not a problem for me to fix, it's a problem for us all to fix.
I think it's really interesting. So, Adam, before we started, said just hang around on the sofa, Andy, and pick holes in this, and I can't. But I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Chloe. Firstly, I always look at diversity and inclusivity and think we've got it slightly wrong. And I think what you're saying is completely right in terms of you've looked to create a culture of inclusivity and then you've gone diverse. And I think we get all of that wrong. I mean, I know it's a kind of the way it kind of comes out is sort of diversity and inclusivity, but I think what's brilliant is you have actually done the inclusivity bit first and created that culture. I want to know how you've done that, and then I'm going to ask you another question. So it's because you mentioned about humanity, and then that obviously talks about a little bit about what we talked about last week, which is AI. So question number one is how have you gone about creating inclusivity, and what are the impacts of psychological safety? Because clearly you've got that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I guess for me there are kind of three aspects to this, and there's sort of 3 P's, and I think one of the P's is what's professional, what's private, and also what's personal. I think I'm quite an open book and I have a very open door. So I think when people within the organisation see a leader sharing some of the reasons, some of their whys, and some of their experience, it creates a kind of, a domino effect that other people feel brave enough to actually share some of their insight. And It's interesting, we were talking about the Royal Mail Group earlier, and I think it's almost like that last mile scenario. If we take it simply to just the journey to work for all of our colleagues, based on their background, can be very, very different. Not only their route to work, the environment they are leaving to enter the workplace, but also the load they carry. So for me, as a woman leader, it's no secret I have quite a big cost centre. My husband and I have managed to raise 5 sons. They're my priority and my focus. Being 52, I can of course remember interviewing and being terrified that I might be asked, did I have a family, did I have children? Also considering, did I look like I might be about to produce a child and therefore impact my ability to be in the workplace and become a cost. We've seen a lot of progress. We've seen so much progress, not only in the workplace, but in society as a whole. But there is so much more work to be done. And I think if we consider parent caregivers and what's actually happening in their world, and how we can actually truly create an environment where they are able to fully participate, not only in their role, but perhaps to dip in to more social aspects of, you know, the workplace culture as well. I think lockdown was, I guess it's something we'll reflect on for many, many years, but I can always remember during lockdown working with a fabulous woman, actually, who very quickly went from camera on to camera off. And I couldn't understand this. And we had a one-to-one. And in actual fact, she was based in the City of London, living in a high rise, actually a 2-bedroomed property. But her sister during that period had separated from her partner and had 3 children under 7 and had moved home. So in actual fact, there wasn't an inch of that property that my colleague could adopt as their own. And actually she had a sense of not wanting people to see the chaos that was actually her daily life in the background. So I think creating open communication, sharing insight of your life, your experience, encouraging your colleagues to also share theirs is super important.
So I was going to ask you the second question about AI. However, somebody's just come in to the studio and I'm going to read this out quite slowly because they're asking you a question. So thank you, Mac, for effectively asking this question, which is, he's got a small boutique. He's honestly saying he's not as big as Salesforce yet. Women, gender, diversity, experienced retired leaders and young graduates. It's a bit difficult to find the right talent for the job at hand and to also continue to drive momentum at scale. How did you do it? And then he's added, sometimes people take advantage of your niceness.
300%, absolutely. But, you know, let's not give up being nice. I guess scale can create advantage, but it also can create perception and could lead to potential loneliness within an organisation. So I'm thinking a small boutique, what a gift, what a golden opportunity to create the change you want to see. And I think if we look at hiring practice, I think it can be quite exclusive. So the reality is if a role does not require, for example, a Russell Group degree, doesn't require 15 to 20 years experience plus an MBA and a PhD, why are we asking for those things? And I think, you know, research would show that generally males see that as more of a challenge. I haven't got it, but I'll go for it anyway. I've got the stuff they need. Whereas as a woman, I might sit back and go, wow, there's so much I can't do. There's so much on that spec that doesn't apply to me. I might not throw my hat in the ring. I think, you know, if you can localize, you know, you've obviously got a community, you've got footfall, I guess increasing your social presence, sharing stories and insights around what your organization actually is like on the inside and pushing that out and encouraging people to want to take a peek in and join you in your organization would be a great start.
Hopefully, Mac, that gives you some insight. Please do not hesitate to connect with Chloe, because I'm sure she'd be grateful, be happy to share some things with you. I'm going to tell a 2-second story. So when I used to work for EMC, we went to see Avon, and the IT leader at Avon, and we walked in and we effectively took 5 men at the various different levels of our organisation, and there wasn't a single man on the IT side from Avon. And the CIO said, "What's wrong with this picture?" And there was a lot, a huge amount wrong with it. And so I guess what's really interesting is 10, 15 years ago, Chloe, we completely didn't represent our customer base in the IT world. And you're talking about hiring people, you're talking about, looking like a very diverse team, because you actually want to be humans and you want to connect onto the humans that are in your customers. How important is that for you as a team in this world? And you work clearly for one of the best technology companies in the world. How important is that with this kind of growing concept that we don't need salespeople anymore because it's all going to be replaced by tech?
Yeah, I think if it's all going to be replaced by tech and we no longer need salespeople, I may well be retired by then. First of all, as a child of the 70s, I have very fond memories of actually our Avon lady who used to come door to door, and I was always able to acquire those tiny little sample lipsticks from her that I used to use on my girls' world. So I think Avon's perhaps a standout example of an organisation that truly enabled a female workforce to gain independence and to actually work in a very flexible way that supported their families and other commitments. Yeah, what's wrong with that picture? I think customer feedback and customer insight. I think most organisations over the last 10 to 15 years will have received feedback from partners, suppliers that essentially, we're not showing up perhaps as well as we could do in terms of representation. And I think that's always powerful, because I guess when a lack of representation could potentially hurt your bottom line, I think organisations will step up and actually start to try and fix that challenge. I think, Tim, you alluded slightly earlier to, box ticking. The reality is organisations do carry in country quota and regulation for ensuring that they have diverse employees and representation. But I go back to my point, if we hire more people who have, for example, a hidden disability, the reality is when we're hiring, they may well be connected to many other people who also have a hidden disability. And I think, one of the things a lot of organisations have in common is a finder's fee or some level of reward for being able to refer people in. So I think the reality is the more diverse and representative your workforce is today, the more potential it has to become even more diverse and representative in the future.
That's a great answer, Chloe. Thank you so much, and I completely agree. We have to keep going on that. I believe, I believe sales is a social science, and it's that social that's going to ensure that we continue to make the right connections and understand how we deal with a lot of the things that are in the way of business. I'm on a session this afternoon with Matt Dixon, with Sarah Clayton, looking at through Read to Lead, and I've just read the book cover to cover. I'm a lazy optimist as a lecturer, so I always get to chapter 2 in most books and then put it down. So I actually, as a dyslexic, got the audio, went through it, and it's a brilliant book, and it talks about it's actually halfway through the buying process, people just get scared and there's fear. And there's no way that technology is going to actually help people get through that fear. It's all going to be about people like you and people in your team that flip to, how do we make this less scary? How do we help you get from the idea that you want to do this through to actually doing it? And we're with you. We're not just going to disappear the moment we've got your signature.
Absolutely. I mean, 300%. So, my team is very diverse and very representative. We have individuals with big political backgrounds who play a very active and engaging role in ensuring they are abreast of all of the change that we're currently going through. I have another gentleman who is an absolute sector expert, a self-confessed nerd. So his focus is transport. And I've really had to up my game to better engage with him. He's obsessed with chat. So my understanding, my ability to articulate a conversation now about copper wiring on the lines has improved. So, by having more representation, it helps and enables us all. I've got somebody who is leading in one of the oldest livery companies in the City of London outside of the workplace, which gives him a tremendous opportunity to not only extend his connections and network, but also to surface up and share those connections and introductions to his colleagues. Interestingly, our Gen Z and millennials are more likely to stay in an organisation 5 years plus if they're diverse and representative. So it's not just about the point of hire, it's about the retention. How do we retain, our ageing colleagues? How do we retain women? When we look at data for women in the workforce, actually, is that being fudged by interns and grads? How many women that are 40 plus do we have, and what roles are they sitting in? Are they sitting in leadership positions? What is the career progression for your underrepresented colleagues? I think they're the areas where we need to focus further, more broadly.
I sense some research there that maybe Salesforce and Cranfield could do together in terms of looking at that in the market, and I think that would be really, really interesting, because I think it's a real challenge going forward, which is sales still isn't seen as the sexiest, greatest career you could have, and young people are increasingly not wanting to go into it. I dare say, like me, you fell into sales, Adam fell into sales, but now people are consciously not falling in. They don't want to do it. I interviewed somebody who was one of the suppliers, and she was a customer success agent, and she said, I didn't want to be in sales because I wanted to matter. And that was like, whoa. Wow. Therein lies an interesting problem. And you're right, at the top end, if we are not nurturing and actually attracting females back into work once they've had children, or finding a way that they can have a family whilst they're working, that's really, really important, and has to be addressed.
Yeah, so first of all, I would absolutely love to, pick up a conversation on further collaboration. I mean, we are a data solutions organisation, so anything that we could explore together collaboratively with Cranfield would have huge appeal. It saddens me to hear that, a younger mid-career person has said that about a sales profession. I think for me personally, there were so many things I couldn't do. I left school at 16 with just 3 GCSEs actually. And there were many, many, many roles that I could not do. And actually a career in outsourcing contact centres and consultancy has given me a very long career, opened enormous doors for me. And actually I do see sales as a profession, and we are professionals. And we work with integrity. We're leading engagement, doing huge transformation. And I guess we have the trust of our partner network, but also our customers to deliver those critical business outcomes. And I would advocate for a career in sales. It really did change my life. It's created a far better economic outcome for me than my education perhaps would have afforded me if that was the only consideration for hire.
It's a brilliant answer. Unfortunately, we are at the minute mark, and this has been one of the most exciting, gentle, and fun things. I think we need to get you back quite quickly, Chloe, because we've got a whole range of questions coming in. So what I'd love to do is, Adam, for you to close us out, but Chloe, we'll pick up those conversations and get you back, because there's tons of questions that we need to actually go through for the next show. But it's been a pleasure to meet you. Adam, please close us out.
Well, thank you, Chloe. What can I say? You are the living embodiment of somebody that's walking the walk as well as talking the talk. And I think that you, and I know, knowing some of the people that you have hired over the years, I absolutely know that you have been a massive inspiration to these people. You know, they look at you and they go, actually, maybe I can do this. You know, maybe as a woman in the workplace, maybe I can take this role. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can balance my desire to be inclusive and have a D&I kind of interest in what I do at work. Maybe I can do that as well. So I'm sure everyone that's watched has loved this and has been inspired as well. And as Andy said, let's have you back soon. So until then, thank you everybody for watching Sales TV, and we'll see you again soon.